In this lesson, we're going to build the landing gear for our ship. Alright, so to build the landing gear for this, we want to borrow some geometry from the ship itself because we want to create some landing gear that's going to extend down and then also fit right back into the ship as it's flying. So a way to do this that we've seen before is to go ahead and extract some geometry from this object. So we can do that by going to Editable Poly, and then we can select polygons in the ship itself. So we're going to go ahead and select these polygons right here. Okay, so with those selected, and then we also want to grab some up here in the front. Okay, I'll select those as well. And I'm going to go ahead and hold down Shift and drag that down in the Z direction and just pull those straight down. Let's go ahead and clone to object, and let's make this landing gear. Okay, and there we have our ship. So if we go to our front view, just want to take a look at something really quickly. I want to take a look at the distance in which the landing gear needs to be placed. I'm looking at this, and a couple of things that stand out to me is the ship is it's not really positioned as it should be whenever it's flying in the air. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and select all of the objects in the ship itself, and we want to group these just for a temporary group. And I'm just going to keep it as group 001, and I'm going to rotate the ship to be kind of in the position that it should be whenever flying. So it's going to have kind of this sort of orientation where the tail is pretty much straight out like this. So the fans are going to lift it, and then we're going to have kind of a jet that's coming out of the back here. We still need to create that, so we'll do that in just a little while. So now that we have the ship ready, we've got it into position, we need to kind of take a look at how we're going to build this landing gear. And it's going to come out in a specific position and that sort of thing. And so this can be a little confusing at first. So now we're trying to fit pieces into this. So let's grab our landing gear and let's just pull that back some. And what you're noticing here is that the landing gear, it's quite a bit larger here, this distance here. And so if you want to think about that, you're going to have some landing gear that's going to be extending out. But we need to remember that whenever this thing is landed, it's going to be rotated back down. Okay, so whenever it comes into its landing position, it's going to be something kind of along these lines here. Okay, so let's go ahead and put it in its landed position. Let's grab the landing gear parts, and let's just try to position those the best that we can. I'm going to go ahead and grab element mode and select this back piece and just pull this back here. Just try to position this a little bit better. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have so far. Okay, so we're going to have some pieces here that are going to basically fold right back up into our object. So let's go ahead and let's build just the platforms for this. And to get started with this, I'm going to get rid of some of this geometry in here. So I'm going to double click on that edge, hit Control Backspace to remove that. We'll do the same thing here. And now what we can do is we can come in and we can start applying some extrudes and things like that and just build a basic shape for this. Now before I do that, let's go ahead and detach these objects. So I'm going to detach this one, and let's call this rear underscore landing gear. And then the one that I have selected here, I'm going to make this the front landing gear. And then while I have this one selected, let's go ahead and affect a pivot only and center to object. And let's do the same thing for this one, center to object. Okay, so now those are independent of one another. Let's go ahead and select this object, and we're going to apply a shell modifier just to give it a little bit of thickness. and we'll extend that inner amount up, and we'll go ahead and we'll go to 2, and we're going to build up on this a little bit more. So let's convert this to editable poly because I'm finished with the shell modifier. I don't need to go back to that. We're going to inset this, and we're going to give this quite a bit of an inset. So let's go to 2.5 and hit OK. I'm going to bevel this, so I'm going to extrude it up, but not quite that much. We'll go to around 2, and then we'll bevel that to about 1. -1 there should be good. Okay, so now that we have this, we need to build a little piece for our landing gear, the mechanisms to latch a hold of. So I'm going to go to Edge Mode, double click on that edge to select that loop, and we're going to use chamfer, and we're just going to split that loop into 2, and we're going to go ahead and spread that apart just a little bit more. So we'll go to 1.5, and let's try that one more time, 1.5. There we go, and hit OK. I'm also going to select all of these edges here, so let's select this ring. So I'm going to hold Shift and select the next edge in line to select that ring, and we'll use Connect again. And I'm going to use 2 segments this time, and we're going to pinch those in. And let's go to something like around -22 or so, and we're going to hit OK. Now I want this polygon right here. So let's go to polygon mode by hitting 4 on the keyboard. Select that polygon and extrude. And I'm going to extrude this up to about 2. Let's go ahead and type in, let's go to 3. Hit OK. And then I'm going to extrude that again, and we'll go ahead and we'll keep it at 3 as well. Now I want to show you really quickly on how we could create multiple extrusions instead of hitting extrude OK and then hitting extrude again. What we could do is we could say, alright, well, we want the first extrusion to be at 3, like this. But then I could come in and do an apply and continue the extrude. So if I hit that plus symbol, it extrudes that, and then it creates another one. And then I have full control over how much that extrudes. Okay, so if you have something like that, you can do so. So I'm going to go to 2 on this one, and then hit OK. Let's grab our scale tool, and I'm going to scale that in on the X direction to something like that, to where it kind of rounds that off. Now that we've got this part built, let's go ahead and apply a turbo smooth to our object, and then we'll add some resolution to tighten up some of those details. Alright, so let's go to Edge Mode. Remember to turn on Show End Result, and then we're going to use our Swift Loop tool, and we're just going to cut around some of these edges to create some nice edges here. Okay, so we're going to cut there just to kind of harden that up there. And the same thing here, and then also around these edges. Okay, so everything is looking nice and neat. And we'll do one right here. There we go. And then we'll do one on the end, just like so. Alright, so that's looking really good. Let's go ahead and make one crease right here. Alright, now let's harden up this rounded portion just right around the bottom, and then on each side of that, just to make sure that that topology tightens up nice and neat. And then we're going to go across the edges just like so, just to square that off just on the outside edge. We don't want to square this off, so I don't want to create edges across to create that volume. Alright, so this looks good. Let's go ahead and turn that off. And we've got the back portion of our landing gear. And so what we could do is we could go ahead and copy this and bring it to the front, but I think that this is built just a little bit differently. So with this one, let's go ahead and follow those same steps. Let's apply a shell modifier. and then it's going to keep the same values that we had before, and I'm going to convert this to editable poly. And let's try that one more time. Convert to editable poly, not editable mesh. And then let's go ahead and create that landing gear piece that we'll need. So we're going to go to edge mode, double click on that. We'll use chamfer. We'll go to 1 on this one. And then I'm going to create a couple of segments in here. So I'm going to select this ring, connect. Let's do 2 segments. Let's squeeze that in, and you know what, actually let's just do 1 segment. I think that I can use this polygon right here more effectively. So I'm going to slide that up to about -15 or 14 or so. Let's go to polygon mode, and we're going to use that extrude technique that we just learned. So we're going to do 1.5 on this one. Actually, let's do 2 on this one. We'll hit plus, and we're going to drop that down to around 1.25. Hit OK and scale that inward. That will round that out. And then we're just going to apply our turbo smooth. Iterations up to 2, isoline display. Let's go to editable poly and show end result. Turn on edge mode so we can see that cage, and then we'll use our swift loop tool to get our resolution back. Okay, to get the volume back there. So we'll go around each edge here, and then we're going to tighten up each side of this. So just like so. So very quickly we've created the front landing gear and the back landing gear. Now this front landing gear, we did not do that bevel, and that's okay, because we're going to have less room on this one, and so I think that it's fitting that we just go ahead and place that right on the plate itself. Now if you want to add some more details to this, if you want to create some grooves and that sort of thing, you could do so by using your extrude tools. So if you come in here and select some polygons that you want to create some grooves with, you could just simply use extrude and extrude in a negative direction, okay, or something like that. So you can get kind of creative with it and get a little more comfortable with creating your own designs and that sort of thing. So now that we have created the front and rear landing gear, what we need to do is we need to create the mechanisms that are going to connect to this landing gear. We'll do that next.